And you're on. Thanks.
Thank you. Good evening. We've already started the meeting in open session before going into executive session. We're now reconvening in open session. Per Governor Baker's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the public will not be allowed to physically access this school committee meeting. Members of the public can access the meeting via Montague Community Television broadcast. An extension of the emergency open meeting law provisions were signed into law as Chapter 20, Section 20 of the Acts of 2021. The school committee reserves the right to implement additional remote participation procedures and will notify the public of these procedures as it is practical to. All members of the public who wish to join the meeting may do so by accessing the link on the Gill-Montague Regional School District website. It can be found under School Committee Notices and Agendas for upcoming meetings, and it will be tonight's date for school committee. We are live streaming as well as broadcasting on MCTV, and a recording will be available on MCTV and the district website following this meeting. If you are in our Zoom audience, please keep the camera and the microphone off. Thank you. Welcome to all visitors. This will be an opportunity for public participation, which is policy BEDH. It has been reinstated to hold public participation remotely, but we do not have anyone waiting this evening to do so. In that case, we'll move on to important events. Brian? You're muted, Brian.
It's been a while since I've done that. On Sunday, August 28th, Friends of Hillcrest will host a meetup from 9 a.m. to noon. Friends of Hillcrest are also holding a chalk walk event from 4 to 5 on the evening or late afternoon on Wednesday, August 31st. Mentor training is taking place on August 22nd in the high school library. The middle school new student orientation will be on August 24th at 5 p.m. The 9th grade and new high school student orientation will be on Thursday, August 25th at 5 p.m. The new staff orientation will be on Friday, August 26th in the library, starting at 8:30 a.m. New paraprofessional orientation will take place on August 31st at 2 p.m. The opening day for staff is Monday, August 29th, and opening day for students in grades 1 through 12 is Thursday, September 1st.
Thank you. Anyone have any other events to add? Sometimes we do hear about them. Okay. We don't have a student representative report during the summer. We hope to start that again in the fall. So Superintendent's Report, Brian?
Sure, just a couple of brief notes. I did include the COVID data. The CDC still ranks Franklin County as low risk of transmission as of yesterday, Monday, August 8th. There was a call with all of the superintendents in the state who were able to make it with the commissioner yesterday. He had a brief meeting to let us know that guidance on COVID will be the same as it was when the 2021-2022 school year ended, which means masks are optional in schools, with the exception of health offices and individuals who are returning for a period of quarantine. There's no longer state funding or programs for pool testing or rapid testing, and there's no longer state funding for PPE. And school districts will no longer be required to report cases to the Department of Education unless there's a concern about a cluster or an outbreak. In other COVID news, the vaccine clinics, which had been announced at previous school committee meetings, have been canceled. The organization that was hosting the clinics informed Melissa Bednarski about a week ago that they're not going to be able to staff those clinics. And so Melissa's working with other local agencies and our school physician to try to reschedule more vaccination clinics around the time of the start of school. I wanted to say congratulations and thank you to Director of Pupil Services, Diane Ellis. Diane has secured an additional $127,500 to continue the second year of the multi-tiered system of supports and social emotional learning grant. In consultation with Alex Hirschberg and input from teacher leaders who worked on this in the first year of the grant, the MTSS team is in the process of creating and implementing year 2 of the plan around social emotional learning, and we'll keep the school committee appraised of when that's completed and share progress in the plan over the course of the year. I did also want to add there was a request from school committee when we had purged some outdated science materials from the department. I wanted to thank Department Chair Julie Dubriel, who took the feedback from the school committee and was able to donate almost all of the materials that we declared as surplus to an organization called More Than Words. And they're a used book and clothing agency that gets those items into the hands of people who need them. And so there was a great suggestion that came from the committee, and I really appreciate Julie's work. And that's it for the superintendent's report.
Okay, yes, thank you. Please express our appreciation to Julie and also to Diane for getting the district, the grant again, and the teacher leaders. I'm sure they were really helpful in doing that as well as Alex Hirschberg. We'd like to thank everyone. Thank you. Okay, moving along, the business and operations report. Anything in particular, Joanne?
Yep, I just got a couple of brief things. So transportation, our routes are getting developed right now. And so students that are attending their home school living outside of 1.5 miles from the school are eligible to ride the bus. But families that attend an elementary school that is not their home school, so Montague students attending in Gill or Gill students attending in Montague are not eligible for the bus. And school choice students are not eligible either. So those routes should be coming out, and we'll get those on the website soon. Also, school lunch. I know Molly said last week that there would be free meals for all students. This is not through CEP, but through funding that the state has authorized. But that's free meals for students. So even if they have the free meals, students always have that opportunity to get a second meal. So we're going to need to set a price at the next meeting, a price for a second meal. So student lunch price and a price for snack milk. So students that buy the milk can, have that opportunity as well. You had already set the staff lunch prices at $3 for breakfast, $5 for lunches. So we don't need any more, we don't need to evaluate those. Those prices are fine as we go forward. So I will bring you information from Molly to set prices for lunches at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Joanne? Bill?
I have one. I'm curious, is there any way that we can set up a bus, a location for people opting to have their child in Gill Elementary congregate and take one bus up to the school? The reason I ask is that the line of cars at Gill School leading into morning, and certainly at 2:30 to 2:45, it starts forming in the afternoon. It's not that it really interferes with the traffic on Boyle Road where I live. There's hardly any other than that. But is there any way we can accommodate some of the students and have that be a bus trip that is over 1.5 miles, or is it because of location around a school that you have to count?
It is, we talked about this a year ago, and it's an equity issue that we don't offer a bus leaving Gill to go to Montague. So the students that live in Gill and attend the Montague schools, we don't offer a bus for them. So that's an equity issue, to send the bus in one direction but not the other. And we did have, when we were busing those students, we did have one place that they could get on the bus. People would get on wherever they wanted instead. They wouldn't always get on at that one stop. And we had some overcrowding issues on buses.
relative to spacing.
Right, overcrowding of the actual buses, not overcrowding during COVID. This is pre-COVID. We had overcrowding issues because of the numbers of students that we're busing there. You know, these students would get a bus potentially to attend Sheffield or Hillcrest, but they're
No.
choosing to drive across the bridge. And so, you know, that's a choice they make when they fill out the form to say they want to go to a different school.
No, that's cool. I just want to, you know, try to make an effort all the time to demonstrate.
Oh, you just muted yourself.
That's fortunate.
On purpose, Jennifer?
Yes, thanks. I was just thinking, has there been, or is there a possibility for like a paid system? Like, it sounds like potentially a complex infrastructure, but if there was a way for folks to purchase like bus tickets or something, you know, and utilize the same bus company that you use, but have routes that a person could purchase a ticket on. So it's not, I mean, it maybe still sounds like equity because some people can afford it and some people can't, but at least you're not only offering it free in one direction. Or I don't know, maybe at least keep this as a potential conversation. It might not be something that can happen super on the fly, but potentially.
Yeah, that it wouldn't help the overcrowding issue that we had pre-COVID. It wouldn't help that issue. So, you know, and adding a bus would be, it's like $400 a day for a bus.
Just a quick
So-
question. Isn't an overcrowding issue indicative of a higher need in those areas for that kind of service?
If we had an overcrowding issue with students that lived in the town, yeah, then we would add a bus. But this isn't students that live in that town. So we wouldn't have an overcrowding issue if they were on the bus going to the Montague elementary schools.
And just to, I'm trying to remember the last time we talked about this, Joanne, and refresh my memory, or maybe it's changed. We get reimbursed for each child that we bus who is bused to their home school if they live 1.5 miles or further from the school, correct?
Right, it's not homeschool for the reimbursement. The reimbursement is any of our students that live in our district that go to our schools that are on the bus more than 1.5 miles, we get reimbursed.
Okay.
And so we have, I think maybe we only have like a handful of students that live within that 1.5 miles that we do bus, a very small number.
Right, if there's an issue with traffic, I know there's certain things parents can bring up if there's something that seems unsafe. So on occasion, we have done that, correct?
Right.
Great, okay. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Moving on, school committee reports. We have 5 warrants that we need to vote. If it's acceptable, I'll detail them all and then I'll entertain a motion to vote them all in a group. The first is fiscal year 23. It's warrant number 3205. It's a student activity account for the high school. All of these will be dated 8/10/2022. This first one, the student activity high school account, is $640.48. The second is again fiscal year 23, warrant number 3306. It's a student activity account for the middle school, and it's in the amount of $996.05. The third is a fiscal year 23, warrant number 3307, again for the middle school student activity account. This one is for $2,169.34. The fourth one is for also fiscal year 23, warrant number 3308. It's an accounts payable to pay our bills. It's in the amount of $109,634.14. And the last one is also fiscal year 23, warrant number 3309, accounts payable $32,748.22. But there's a note on that one. It is to pay some fiscal year 22 carry forward invoices. I'll entertain a motion to approve them together if it's okay.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Bill.
Haley seconds.
Haley, any questions or discussion about that?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure, Bill.
A question I should have asked a long time ago. Is any of this, I know that some of the teachers get, this just a technical question. Some of the teachers get 12-month paychecks, right? So they're getting paid through the summer for work they did last year. And how is that treated? Is that fiscal year 22 leftover stuff, or is that fiscal 23 expense?
Joanne?
We pay it out of fiscal 23, but it's fiscal 22 expenses. So we
I understand.
expense it in June. We roll it over into a liability account, and then we pay it out from the liability account.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Well,
Thank-
And just for people listening, those are payroll, whereas this is accounts payable. They're two different categories.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Jane.
Thanks. Okay. We need the roll call, correct? Yeah. Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
and me. Thank you. Moving on to the business portion. We mentioned earlier this spring that we had a proposal to dedicate the athletic field, the softball field at the high school, and we examined policy FF. Brian, do you want to update people on where we are, please?
Sure, we had mentioned that at a previous school committee meeting, we just wanted to remind folks at this meeting that coming up sometime in September or October, that we had talked about bringing this to a vote based on the recommendation or the proposal that the softball field be named for longtime coach Gary Mullins. And that we wanted to make sure that the committee, neither the committee, the athletic department, or the administration were put in a position where doing something over the summer like this, in case it became something that was an emotional issue for members of the community, that it was just hidden in a poorly attended summer school committee meeting. So we had agreed that we would revisit this in the fall. So I think we'd probably be looking at the second meeting of September or the first meeting of October as probably the best dates when everybody's back. And you know, we have also already gone through the other previous steps, so this would just require an agenda item, a motion, second, deliberation, and a vote. So at some point, when Jane and Bill and I set future agendas, I have a note to talk about putting that on one of the early fall agenda items. I wouldn't do it in the first week of September, though. I think or the first meeting in September. I'd prefer to do it either at the second meeting of September or the first meeting of October.
Any questions or comments, Bill?
I'll back you up, Brian, sometime, but I'd like to present this as the Bordeaux fields, and then you have the sectional parts of it. So it is similar to, and this is a great analogy for Turner's Falls. It's similar to Wimbledon and Center Court. You know, there's lots of things that happen, but they identify what part of Wimbledon you're going to be looking at. And the same should be true for Turner's Falls complex. It is the Bordeaux fields, the whole athletic complex, but then sections of it can be designated as to the superstars that have come to fore during their tenure at Turner's. And I think that's fair. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Bill. And I appreciate that background information about, you know, the athletic complex itself as already having been named.
Okay, so we will bring this up at a future meeting. Just to let you know, it still is in the works. Okay, the next item, we need to appoint a Mass Association of School Committees delegate for our annual delegate assembly at the conference in Hyannis, which is held early in November. Unless someone else has signed up that I'm unaware of, the two people that will be going are Jennifer and myself this year. Anyone else able
Oh.
to? Jennifer?
Sorry. I was just gonna say I would do it again this year. That's the thing I did last year, right?
Yes, you did.
I'm happy to do it again unless somebody else wants to do it.
Okay, as the somebody, I think I would say thank you. And generally, I think what we fill out is a delegate and an alternate form. So in that case, I would be the alternate,
Okay.
and that would be great. It is very educational. And I did,
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much, actually. Much more than I expected to.
yeah, it is pretty interesting. I probably did it like 8 years in a row, and it was very interesting always. But thank you, that'd be great. So we need to vote that. We need to vote for Jennifer as the delegate and for myself as the alternate delegate. I'll entertain a motion.
Move. Bill.
Bill, thank you.
I'll second. Brooke.
Brooke, thank you. Any discussion about that?
Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
It is quite a fascinating thing. It's just hard sometimes to get the time away from jobs or whatever because it's a Wednesday through Saturday thing, and that's tricky. But all right, we have a motion. We have a second. I'll take a roll call vote. Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
and myself. Yes, thank you. The next item, and I believe the only other one under business, there's a change of date on the 2022-2023 school year calendar, and then we need to vote on that. Brian, I believe it's a change in the date for turnaround day.
Yes, for those who were here on the committee, you may remember that the initial proposal that came from the administrative team had the start of school moved up by quite a bit. And then as we kind of came to the realization that we had quite a few projects going on and other areas schools were starting a week later, we did ultimately reconfigure the calendar for the school year to start when we currently have it scheduled. However, turnaround day was not changed as a result of the updated proposal. So it doesn't quite fall in the middle of the school year. And I realized that as I was going through establishing dates for the secondary academic calendar, because they operate in quarters. So I'm making the recommendation that we move turnaround day on the calendar from January 20th to January 27th. So it's just pushing it back a week to reflect the change that we made in the school year calendar regarding pushing the start date back to September 1st for students.
Okay, I will entertain a motion for that.
I'll move it, Jennifer.
Jennifer, thank you.
Second.
Second, Bill. Any discussion? Just for information for people listening, turnaround day is a day for professional development for the teaching staff. The reason it needs to be in the middle of the year, as close to as we can get it, is because semesters change at the high school, and the high school staff uses that to work on finishing up the previous semester and getting prepared for the second semester. Is that correct, Brian?
Yep.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
All right, thank you. We'll have a roll call. Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
And me. Okay, checking our agenda. The only other item left is approval of minutes from July 26, 2022. I'll entertain a vote to approve the minutes.
I'll move them.
Okay,
Also.
Bill, thank you.
Haley seconds.
Haley, second. Any discussion of the minutes? Okay, roll call. Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
And myself. Yes, thank you. That's unanimous. If you have any agenda requests, please let us know, Bill, Brian, or myself. We generally hold agenda planning the evening of the Monday of the week before our next meeting. So that means next Monday, we will start planning the agenda to get it organized in time. The dates of the next scheduled meetings are not here, but the next one is, let me just check my calendar. It's right here. The next one will be August 23rd. And the one after that will be September. Oh, we changed September's. 6th and 20th, I believe. Yes, we changed September's. Usually it's the 2nd and the 4th. Bill?
Yes.
Okay. And those are when the meetings are scheduled, and all we need is a motion to adjourn.
I'll move the motion to adjourn.
Okay, Jennifer, thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, Bill, thank you. Any discussion of that? Probably not. Okay.
What a time to freeze.
I know. Thank you, everybody. Nice to see you, Brooke.
Do we have to do a roll? No, I guess.
We got through
Brian,
almost the whole meeting. Wow.
Right?
Close. We were really close. So Bill said yes, I believe, right?
Yep.
yeah,
And Jennifer
Yes.
and Haley
Yes.
and Brooke
Yes.
and myself. Yes. All right. Thank you so much,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.